Hello, my name is Actor Thomas, and this is another episode of Only Fools and Horses. This episode is called No Greater Love. Let's get into it. Now, in this episode of Only Fools and Horses, we see Del and Rodney going about their business. This business, I mean by going around and getting payment from sales that they have made, but they have offered their customers the time to pay on the weekly. So they've gone down to a customer's flat to pick up payment for some goods that they've already gave her. We also see that Del and Rodney are walking around in matching camel air coats. Of course, Del's fits him like a glove. Unfortunately, Rodney's does not, and he looks like he's lost an awful lot of weight because the coat is far too big for him. So, Rodney knocks on the customer's door, and a strange woman answers the door called Irene McKay, and she explains to Rodney that the previous tenant who owes Del and Rodney the money for the merchandise have moved away 3 weeks ago, and she's the new tenant. At this point, Rodney tries to sell her some of the merchandise that he's got in the suitcase to try and get more money, but it's at this point where you find out that Rodney's absolutely in love with this woman. She does explain to him that she is considerably older, she's in her 40s, but that doesn't really matter to Rodney. Rodney's very happy. We then transition 1 week later, and Del and Rodney and Grandad are talking about Rodney's relationship, and Rodney had been told, and had told Del and Grandad, that Irene's husband was away for 6 months on work, but this isn't actually true. What's actually happening is that he's in prison for GBH, attempted murder, and wounding with intent, and he is being released in 6 months' time, and that's hence why Irene and her son Marcus moved away from where they previously lived to this other side of London, so they could stay away from him and his known associates. Del, of course, is quite worried about this, and it only gets more worried once Rodney reveals that he wishes to talk to Irene's husband Tommy, who obviously is incredibly protective over his wife and would not want some young oik like Rodney going out with her. So they sort of kind of say, come on, look, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do this. Like I say, Rodney and Del have an argument, and Rodney walks off. Later that night, Del is confronted outside the Nag's Head by Irene's husband Tommy and some of his associates, who beat Del up quite severely, and pretending to be Rodney, because obviously Del had talked Rodney out of going to see Tommy in prison. Somehow Del manages to win the fight and limps back into the Nag's Head. Del shows Rodney his injuries, and instead of telling him what actually really happened, which was of course Irene's husband finding him and beating him up because he thinks he's Rodney, he tells him that he fell down a flight of stairs at an associate's of theirs, Monkey Harris's house, at which point of course Rodney very reveals that Monkey Harris lives in a bungalow, and you find out that Rodney goes to see Irene, and she explains that she's going to go back with Tommy and live back with him, and everything will go back the way things should be. Obviously that makes Rodney very depressed, but not very long, and he sees a very attractive young woman walking in the Nag's Head, and his affections go straight for her. And there are many ways Dell's attempt of brotherly love by saying that I'll take a beating for you doesn't really have much effect for him. And that's the end of the episode. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Also, the score I'm going to give this episode of Only Fools and Horses, No Greater Love, is going to be number 3. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I shall see you next time. Goodbye.